Chapter 1. The Boy with Everything. Bruce Wayne was born in a big city called Gotham. His family was one of the richest in the country. His father was a doctor. His mother helped poor people. They lived in a huge house with many rooms, long, stairs, and even a private garden. Bruce had everything: expensive toys, fancy clothes, a butler named Alfred who took care of him. He never had to clean. He never had to cook. He was just a rich boy with a big smile and no problems. Every day, a driver took him to school in a black car. He had bodyguards and teachers who treated him like a prince. Sometimes he laughed at other kids. He thought he was better than them. He was smart, but also selfish. He only cared about his own world. He believed money could fix anything. But one evening, that world broke. Bruce was 8 years old. His parents took him to the theater. They watched a movie together. After the movie, they walked home through a quiet street. The lights were low. The wind was cold. A man came out of the shadows. He had a mask and a gun. He asked for money. Bruce's father gave it to him, but the man was scared. He pulled the trigger. 2 shots. Bruce's mother and father fell to the ground. They didn't move. Bruce stood still. He couldn't speak. The man ran away. That night, Bruce learned what pain was, and he also learned that money could not protect him. Chapter 2. The Empty House. After the funeral, Bruce came back to his house. But now it felt different. It was still big and beautiful, but it was also cold and quiet. There was no laughter, no music, no warm voice from his mother, only silence. Alfred, the butler, stayed with him. He cooked food. He cleaned the rooms. He tried to smile and say kind words, but Bruce didn't want to talk. He stayed in his room most of the time. He looked out the window and thought about his parents. He asked himself the same question every night. Why did they die? Why did no one help? Why was the city so dangerous? Bruce still went to school, but he was not the same. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. Other children talked about games and birthdays. Bruce sat alone. He didn't care about toys anymore. He didn't care about money. One day, a teacher asked him to draw a picture of his future. Bruce drew a bat. At home, Alfred found the drawing. He asked, "Why a bat?" Bruce said, "Because it lives in the dark and people are afraid of it." That was the first time he spoke about fear, and it stayed in his heart like a seed. Chapter 3. The years of anger Bruce grew older, but the pain inside him didn't go away. It grew with him. Every day he felt more angry. Angry at the man who killed his parents. Angry at the police who did nothing. Angry at the city where bad people were free. He didn't tell Alfred about his feelings. He kept everything inside, but Alfred saw it in his eyes. He knew that Bruce was not just sad, he was changing. At the age of 16, Bruce told Alfred something important. "I want to leave Gotham. I want to learn how to fight. I want to understand fear." Alfred was afraid, but he didn't stop him. He only said, "Promise me you will come back." Bruce packed a small bag and left the house. He traveled far from home, to mountains, to forests, to places where no one knew his name. He met teachers. Some were fighters, some were monks, some were criminals. He learned to fight with his hands. He learned how to move without making sound. He learned to survive in the wild. He learned how to feel pain and keep going. But the most important lesson was about fear. One old man said to him, "You can't fight fear by running from it. You must look it in the eyes and become stronger than it." Bruce listened. He remembered the night in the alley, the cold, the shadows, the feeling of being small and weak. He decided he would never feel that way again. He would never be a victim again. He would become something else, something stronger than fear. Chapter 4. The return to Gotham years passed. Bruce became a man. His body was strong. His mind was sharp. He had trained in many countries. He had learned many skills. He had learned how to fight, how to disappear, how to face fear. But he still felt empty inside. One morning, he woke up in a small room in a mountain village. He looked in the mirror. He saw a face he barely knew. Then, he said to himself, "It is time to go home." He packed his bag and left the village. He flew back to Gotham. The city looked the same, but he saw it differently. He saw the broken streets, the hungry people, the dangerous eyes in dark corners. He returned to Wayne Manor, his old home. Alfred was waiting at the gate. He smiled and said, "Welcome home, Master Bruce." Bruce hugged him. He didn't cry, but his eyes were wet. Inside the house, everything looked clean and quiet. But Bruce didn't come back to relax. He came back with a purpose. He wanted to fight the kind of people who hurt his family. But he didn't want to use his name or his money. He wanted to be something else. Something that could move in the dark. Something that could make bad people afraid. He spent days thinking. He stayed in the cave under the house, reading old police files and making plans. He studied the city map. He watched the streets at night. He waited in shadows, but one question was still inside his mind: who should I become? Chapter 5. The idea of the Bat Bruce spent many nights alone in the cave under the house. It was cold, dark, and full of old rocks. There were bats flying in, the shadows. At first, the place felt strange, but over time, Bruce started to like it. It was quiet. It was private. It was the perfect place to think. One evening, while he was sitting at the computer, a bat flew past his face. It didn't hit him. It just moved around him and disappeared into the dark. Bruce didn't move. He watched it fly. And then he understood something. Criminals use fear. They scare people to control them. So maybe I can use fear too. I will become what I fear. I will become a bat. That night, Bruce drew the first symbol. It was simple. A dark bat with wide wings. He looked at it and said, "This is who I will be." Bruce started to build his new identity. First, he needed a suit, not just clothes, but armor, something that could protect him from bullets and knives. He worked with a company that made military gear. They didn't know it was for him. He ordered pieces secretly. A strong chest plate, gloves with metal in the fingers, a mask with a voice changer, a black cape that helped him move like a shadow. He tested every part in the cave. He jumped, rolled, and fought against punching bags. He wanted to move fast and stay silent. If it didn't work, he changed it. Then he needed a car, not a normal car. He needed something fast, strong, and full of tech. He found an old military vehicle from a canceled project. It was big, black, and powerful. He worked with Alfred to rebuild it. They added armor, special tires, lights, and a silent engine. Now it could jump over rivers, break through walls, and disappear in seconds. He called it the Batmobile. Inside the cave, he built a base. He added computers, cameras, maps, and tools. He called it the Bat Cave. Every tool had a purpose: smoke bombs, grapple guns, mini cameras, tracking devices. All small but powerful. Bruce didn't want to kill. He wanted to scare, to stop, to protect. So he trained again, not to fight harder, but to fight smarter. At night, he stood in front of a mirror in full suit. He looked at himself. He didn't see Bruce Wayne. He saw something new. He saw the Batman. Chapter 6. First night as Batman, Thigh A. City was quiet, but not safe. Dark alleys were full of danger. People were afraid to walk alone. Shadows were not empty. They had eyes. Bruce watched everything from the rooftop. He was wearing the full suit. His face was under the mask. His heart was beating fast. He looked down and saw a group of men. They were taking money from an old man near a store. They pushed him to the ground. He tried to run, but they laughed. Bruce jumped from the roof. He used his cape to glide. He landed behind the men without a sound. One man turned around and saw a black shape. He said, "What is that?" Then Bruce hit the first man in the stomach. Fast, clean, silent. The others tried to fight, but they didn't know how. Bruce moved like smoke. He blocked punches. He used his tools. A smoke bomb, a grapple gun, a flash of light. The men were on the ground, coughing, scared. One of them asked, "Who are you?" Bruce stepped forward. He looked down and said, "I am Batman." Then he disappeared into the night. The old man stood up. He looked around. He didn't understand what just happened, but he felt safe. For the first time in years, he felt hope. The next morning, the story was in the news. People were talking. They didn't know who it was. Some said he was a soldier. Some said a monster. Some said an angel in black. But one thing was clear. Gotham had a new name in the dark. Batman. Chapter 7. The Rise of the Legend. After the first night, Bruce didn't stop. He went out again and again. Every night, a new mission. He stopped robberies. He followed gangs. He saved people who were in danger. But he didn't work like the police. He didn't wear a badge. He didn't use lights or sirens. He used the shadows. He was quiet. He was fast. He was everywhere. Criminals started to talk. They asked, "Have you seen him? Is he real? Can he fly?" One man said, "I saw him. He came from the sky. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, and I ran. Others didn't believe. They said he is just a story. No man can do that." But deep down, they were afraid. Every dark corner felt different now. Every sound at night made them stop and look. Was that the wind, or was that him? People in the city started to feel hope. At first, they were not sure. But slowly, they began to believe. Someone was fighting for them. Someone was watching the streets. Someone cared. Bruce watched the city from rooftops. He didn't smile. He didn't want fame. He didn't want thanks. He only wanted justice. He worked alone. But he listened. He read the news. He studied police files. He made plans. In the Batcave, he marked places on the map. He learned where the biggest crimes were. He followed the patterns. He wanted to go deeper, to find the real problem, to understand who was behind the crime in Gotham. One night, Alfred asked him, "Why do you keep doing this? You are only one man. You could live a quiet life." Bruce answered, "Because I made a promise. Because no one else will." Chapter 8. Shadows and Enemies. The nights in Gotham were never quiet. Even with Batman on the streets, crime didn't stop. It became smarter. It moved deeper into the city, into clubs, into banks, into politics. Bruce began to see something. There were names he didn't know, faces he had never seen before. He understood that small criminals were not the real danger. Someone bigger was in control, someone who worked in the dark. Just like him, he needed to learn more. So he started watching people. He followed rich men who smiled during the day, but made secret deals at night. He heard stories about a new leader in the underworld, a man with a strange laugh, a man who wore makeup like a clown. No one said his name. They were too afraid. Bruce asked Alfred, "Have you heard about this man?" Alfred looked serious. "I have, but he is not just a man. He is something worse." Bruce knew he had to be ready. He made his suit stronger. He changed the mask to see in the dark. He added new tools to his belt. Mini microphones, smoke grenades, magnetic trackers. He also worked on his body. He trained harder, more hours, less sleep. He pushed himself to the limit. One night, a bank was attacked. The criminals didn't take money. They left a message on the wall. It was a smile drawn in red paint. And one sentence, "Let's play a game." Bruce stood in front of the wall. He didn't speak. He just stared. He understood the meaning. This was not just crime. This was personal. Someone wanted his attention. Back in the Batcave, Bruce looked at the wall where he kept information. He put up a new photo. It was a blurry picture of a man with green hair and a painted face. Bruce didn't know his name, but he knew one thing. This was the beginning of something new, a new kind of enemy, a new kind of war. Chapter 9. Mind Against Madness. The days passed, but Bruce couldn't rest. The man with the smile was always in his thoughts. Who was he? What did he want? Why was he laughing while the city was bleeding? The police had no answers. They didn't even have a name. They called him the Clown. But Bruce knew this was not a joke. This man was planning something, and he wanted chaos. Strange things began to happen in the city. A school closed because someone left a bomb under the stairs. A hospital got a letter that said, "Tonight we dance." But nothing happened. The people were scared, not because of what he did, but because they didn't know what he would do next. That was the danger. He used fear as a weapon, just like Bruce, but not to protect. He used fear to break people. Bruce studied every message, every word, every symbol. He saw a pattern. It was not random. It was a game. And he was the target. One night, Alfred came into the Batcave. He said there was a fire at the theater. No one died, but there was a note. Bruce took the paper. It said, "Let's meet where your story began." Bruce understood. The theater. The place where he lost his parents. That night, he stood outside the building. It was empty and dark, but there was something strange. Music. He walked inside. The lights turned on. A recording started to play. It was the sound of laughter. Slow, loud, cold. Then a voice said, "Why do you hide behind a mask? Why do you pretend to care? You are not different from me. You love the dark too." Bruce stood still. He didn't answer. He looked around, but the building was empty. He knew the man was not there. It was just a message. But it was clear. This was not a fight of fists. This was a fight of minds, and the clown was not just playing. He was testing Bruce. He wanted to break him. Bruce walked out of the building. He said to himself, "I will not let him win. Not in this city." Chapter 10. The Unbreakable. Will the days after the theater were hard. Bruce slept less. He worked more. He searched for the man with the painted face, but he always stayed one step ahead. Each night brought something new. A small fire in a school, a false bomb in a train, painted cards left in strange places. The messages were always the same. Where is your smile? Why so serious? Do you really think you are saving them? Bruce didn't answer, but he felt the pressure. The city was watching him. Some people said Batman is losing. Others said we need him now more than ever. Alfred noticed the change. Bruce was quiet. He ate less. His hands were shaking. One night, Alfred said, "You need to stop. You are only human." Bruce looked at him and said, "No, I am not stopping. Not until he is gone." Then one night it happened. A group of people were trapped in a building. Gas was coming in through the vents. The police didn't know what to do. There was a timer, 10 minutes. Bruce didn't wait. He drove the Batmobile through the street, fast, focused. Inside the building, the gas was thick. People were coughing. Some were on the floor. Bruce put on a mask. He moved fast. He broke the lock. He used a smoke bomb to stop a hidden trap. He opened a door and shouted, "Follow me?" He led them out one by one. The timer reached 10 seconds. Bruce was still inside. Outside, people were crying, "Where is he?" Did he make it? Then the door opened. Bruce walked out, carrying a little girl in his arms. The people cheered. But Bruce didn't wave. He didn't smile. He looked at the sky. Then he disappeared. Later that night, the clown sent a message. It was short. You still smile on the inside. I will break that soon. Bruce watched the screen and whispered, "No, you won't," and turned off the light. He sat in silence. His body was tired, but his will was strong. The city didn't know his name, but they knew what he stood for. He was not perfect. He made mistakes. He had pain inside, but he never gave up, and that is why he became more than a man. He became a legend. He became the Batman.